Welcome to another exciting episode of In Depth and Out Loud with me, Dubbz. Today joining us is Sadika, who is a pro brand marketer. So if you are interested in marketing, branding, this is definitely the conversation for you. Sadika, hi.
Hi.
So before I move on to the questions, you have almost worked everywhere. Okay, so currently you are with Absa, but before that you have been with FNB, Nedbank, Standard Bank. Do you want to run us through your portfolio, please, ma'am?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So let's talk career. Half of my career started on the agency side.
Yes.
And on the agency side, you get the opportunity to have an array of brands. And that's why I always advocate that if you're studying, there are, of course, corporate internships, but don't discount agencies. So creative agencies. I had started my career at TBWA Huntless Cars. I stalked the strategic director.
I love
Stalked.
TBWA.
Exactly.
Brilliant.
But that was the agency. That was the agency that convinced my father, who had no money at that point, that he was going to buy a BMW. And I said, if you've convinced this stubborn man he's going to buy a BMW, then I want to work for that agency too, because I'm going to learn to convince people and brands. So my career started at a creative agency at TBW, and again, I stalked the strategic director, and I made them hire me, and I worked for free because I knew that sticker, that equity of TBWA on my resume was going to weigh out far more than working for something that I wasn't passionate or vested in. So I started out on the creative agency side, went on to the media agency side, where I serviced a couple of brands, from an MTN to a Standard Bank CIB to my beloved Nokia, Old Mutual. Yes, Nokia.
3310. You were there.
A little bit after. I'm giving my age away, but those Nokias.
I had a 3310.
I love Nokia. Do you still have it?
No.
Oh.
I'm actually over Nokia now. I'll be honest.
not.
I'm sorry.
I want Nokia to come back. So Nokia's, and I had the opportunity across working for the continent and of course South Africa. So the agency environment gave me that opportunity. Worked in Spa, worked in Bayersdorf, amongst many others.
Yes.
And then it's what we call, you got the opportunity on client side. So very few agency people get the opportunity to switch over onto the client side, or what we call corporate side. And I was blessed enough by a leader who saw potential in taking what experience I had accumulated on the agency side onto the corporate side, because fundamentally corporates are very dependent on agencies for their marketing and their advertising and their digital output. So I landed up at Nedbank as the head of media there, and then a little bit of a stint to FNB and as the same role. Then I took a break. From banking. Relax. I went into consumer goods because that's something that wasn't on my resume, and a couple of my mentors and leadership coaches said, you are quite focused on banking and financial services. As
move
a
out
media,
of it.
That's it. Move out of it. It's okay. Move out. Go and take what you've learned from banking and move into consumer goods. Many of the marketing greats in this continent and the world, I must admit, have consumer goods experience, and that was missing from my resume. So I had to take a step back, and I joined Tiger Brands during COVID.
That was a different move.
I spent a couple of years at Tiger Brands, so I learned how to sell Oros, I learned how to sell bread, I learned how to sell all of these things, tangible products, because for the longest I was selling intangible products. But what consumer goods is so good at is really that part to market, the user journey, and really understanding the customer need. And then I couldn't stop myself. I came back into banking, and here I am at Absa. So
the passion, you went back, and currently
do
you're
love
with
and
Absa.
serve.
I love what you just said earlier on, that you wanted to be a part of TBWA. You wanted that brand on your resume because you knew that it's going to help you moving forward.
Yes.
And I just think for the student, it's so important to understand, and mind you did this without pay at the time. It's so important to understand the importance of having a certain brand on your resume. Forget the money, because that can come after. But with that, you literally knock at any door, they take you serious.
Correct.
So I just needed to plunge that in there very quickly, because I thought, wow, that's incredible. I've done that before, actually.
So you resonate, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it works.
It works.
There are some brands that you have on your resume. When you give it to an employer, they look at you differently, 100%.
I advocated, and let me tell you how it came full circle. Last year was TBWA's 40th birthday. I turned 40 as well. So TBWA Huntlascara started in 1983. I
Yes.
was following them my entire journey. The second I was big enough to consume TV ads. And the great thing is I got a chance to speak at their conference and come all round to be with John Hunt and Scars. So when it comes full circle, I guarantee the hard work does come full circle.
Beautiful. You have had extensive experience in building brands, telling their stories, sharing them with consumers. What do you think the secret is to build something that is relevant, long-lasting brands and that people care about?
The first thing is put the customer or the client or the consumer at the center. You have to be solving for a problem or understanding a challenge that the customer or a human faces. Period. You have to understand that. Then you have to understand the role that the brand plays in society. Communities, society, the world, the continent. You have to be making an impactful difference. At Absa, we believe that everybody's story counts. So we see an opportunity in everybody's story. That is why we're a bank for all across Pan-Africa. So the important component is ensure that you are answering to a consumer need.
Sure. Provide us with an overview now of your role as the executive of digital marketing and media at Absa and how it contributes to the bank's overall strategy.
I think it's all experience. I don't like living by title. I really love living by my passion, which is media and digital. My light and life lights up when I talk media and digital. So a day in the life of my role is we are driving connection parts to the customer or the consumer. Within my team and the agency teams that support me and the media owners and the platforms, so the Googles of the world, the Facebooks of the world, the SABCs of the world, we work together in collaboration to identify the best user journey and the best path to market. How do I reach the consumer? How do I then engage the consumer in the most relevant manner? With the media landscape fundamentally shifting year on year and over the past decade, we need to understand in my role, how are we engaging the customer in the most relevant way and serving them with the most relevant communication and message and value proposition. You know the scroll effect. After 3 seconds, you've scrolled past my ad because it's not relevant, which means you've been served an incorrect piece of communication. And I can think of multiple instances on my phone, on TV, where you just scroll. So my job is to engage customers with the most amazing communication that is relevant to them.
Oh, that's amazing. Discuss with us the process in simple terms, the process of developing comprehensive media strategy, including how you align it with the bank's broader goals and also objectives.
Sure. So one of our big strategic goals is really to drive customer centricity, primacy of our customers, really getting them to entrench themselves in an Absa ecosystem. So how do we plan a media strategy? We put the customer at the center. We understand their media consumption. I'm pretty certain the students would understand this from their textbooks. We have data tools, we have researchers, research houses, we have the platforms coming to us, so Google coming to us and giving us insight and data about the customer, Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, they come and tell us about their customer. When you plan a media strategy, you don't just do it outward, you do it inward. So you have to understand how people are consuming the platform, and then you engage. And then you develop a channel mix, selecting offline and offline channels. Offline channels meaning TV, outdoor, radio, and then online channels, your search, your Facebook, your display commercials. But then you understand, how do you integrate a complete user journey from offline into online? You set KPIs, of course, or measurements and metrics, and then you ensure that that always answers back to the business imperative.
How have the changes in the media landscape over the last 10 years dictated how we now reach consumers?
Fundamental shifts. We've, in my time in media, which is now moving into 20 years plus, we've done recessions. We've done very cluttered over advertising. Then we've done ad security and digital. Then for 2 years, it was COVID that fundamentally shifted the media landscape of consumption patterns. In fact, it was beautiful for media. We saw an incline in media consumption on traditional channels. TV grew by 20%. Actually, media as a whole during COVID grew by like 23% across traditional channels and online channels. Now we're dealing load shedding, which has fundamentally shifted the way we plan media again. So if my battery's not charged, where am I turning? If now my laptop's not working, how am I communicating? So the media landscape will continue to change. It's a matter of us consistently keeping our ear to the ground and understanding how the consumer consumption patterns have shifted.
You almost have to kind of like always be ready.
Correct.
For eruptions to happen, because COVID coming in was like, you know, and now we have the load shedding. So you have to be consistently thinking of ways.
Consistently.
Yeah, to consistent.
But for future.
Yeah.
So we are consistently planning for the next 5 years and already keeping in mind, if a natural disaster comes in, how does media shift? If digital supersedes traditional channels, how might we shift? So what is media requesting or requiring of a candidate wanting to get into media? Agility and resilience.
Sure. South Africa's banking sector, I think, is highly competitive. And because you've worked across all the banks, you would know that very well. How does Absa differentiate itself in terms of media presence and also messaging?
Firstly, it's our positioning. Our positioning that we just landed of your story matters. We see an opportunity in every story. So the first thing is, when you're defining a media strategy or a digital strategy or a content strategy or an influencer plan, you go back to our positioning, because that's what keeps us whole. It keeps us authentic. It keeps us relevant.
Absolutely.
And then we develop our channel plans around our positioning. What do we seek to do in the communities that we serve? And what do we seek to do for the customers that we serve? And that is the imperative that we place for all of our media work that goes out there.
So if there has been any campaign that you've worked on, let's say TikTok, and you have an influencer that now comes on board, and your messaging is that of your story, what have you guys done that has been successful, and what exactly did you do? What was the messaging exactly?
Sure. So we landed Your Story Matters, the positioning campaign, from February. We started with a very secretive, elusive teaser campaign where across Johannesburg you saw red billboards come up. Yes, with those signs actually made me feel my story makes a difference. And you did not know it was Absa. We were following social media. Everyone thought it was Coke. Some people thought it was Momentum. But then it came out on the 22nd or 23rd of February. It was us, because your story matters. And then, so you remember those red billboards everywhere.
Yeah.
So it was a prolific campaign that actually I believe in, because if my story matters, this brand believes that everybody's story matters.
Relatability.
So, absolutely. So we used influencers for that. Influencers, in principle, went around positioning the campaign and telling us their story and telling us why their story matters.
Wow.
So we really use the brand positioning to guide how the influencers work on their specific platforms, but then it's also platform specific. You cannot dictate how an influencer approaches a content piece, because you are buying into their network and their authenticity and their relevancy. Of course, we have checks and balances and screenings we have to do as a bank from a reputation perspective.
Yes.
But at the same time, you've got to be willing to take a little bit of a risk and let the influencer be and create content that is relevant for that community you're buying into.
Wow, that's incredible. Capturing, eh? I mean, I remember it got the consumer wondering. So the banking sector seems very serious, you know? I mean, you walked in here, though, I must say you're not that serious. But you are serious when it comes to business and branding and marketing, which is brilliant. How do you go about your creativity, building bank brands, while also just staying true to the regulations? Because I know it's banking, regulations are quite a thing.
Absolutely. Trust and integrity are critical. When you're talking money and financial service, I always go, if I took 50 Rand from your bank account today, what would you do?
I'd be upset.
Exactly. So we base everything, and this is the FinServe industry as a whole. We are working with people's lifestyles, their money and their bottom line in a tough economic climate. So that is where the regulatory risks come in, and that is where you have to adhere to regulation, because we're protecting the customer and ensuring that we're putting them at the center for safety and brand safety as a whole. Then on the other side, there are multiple value propositions or offerings that pertain to each segment. So in some cases, you have a retirement product for people planning for their retirement. But we also have a youth value proposition that caters for the youth. So I think there's this perception that banks are uber serious. But if you really delve in, even with the competitors, the banking industry right now knows that the youth is our future. And we are creating propositions, we're creating eventing, we are creating experiences that really pertain and are really digging deep into the youth. The use of influencers, you would have never seen a bank use influencers.
Exactly.
So we are saying we understand where our customer base is and how do we connect with the customer base in the most authentic manner. And that is what is so important to us.
And you're resonating with the consumer at the end of the day.
Correct.
How do you measure effectiveness of your media efforts, and what metrics do you find are most valuable in assessing success?
Sure, tons. If you see my message matrix and if you see my measurement matrix, I get confused with the acronyms sometimes. And I always say to my agency partners, stop with the acronyms, because if we have to take it to a board, remember you are speaking to lawyers, engineers, and chartered accountants. Stop with the acronyms. Acronyms must fall. What are we trying to achieve? Okay, so you have to go back to the base of the campaign and understand, were you trying to drive awareness? Then that means a reach metric is important. Were you trying to convert a product? Were you trying to say, apply now, and you were trying to get that application for a loan or a credit card? That means it's an engagement and a conversion campaign. So you're tracking cost per lead and you're tracking conversions. If it's an engagement campaign where you're saying, share your thoughts with us, tell us your story, then that means it's an engagement campaign. So you're tracking shares, you're tracking likes, and you're tracking absolute engagement and user-generated content. Are you tracking positive or negative sentiment? For example, on social media, you could get a slashing and you get a plethora of negative sentiment. Are you tracking the brand health from a sentiment perspective, a positive sentiment or a negative sentiment? Then you're doing social listening. So it really goes back that there isn't one metric that fits all of it. You need to go back to it depends. So I always go, when you get a campaign briefing, go back and really agonize, take highlighters, agonize the objective. What is the objective? What if I owned this business? What do I want to see at the end of this campaign? And if it's awareness, then you know immediately those are the type of objectives. And then, of course, I can't claim to know everything. This is why we have amazing research partners and we have amazing media partners and agency partners that assist us in building our measurement metrics.
So with the recent influencer campaign, what were the objectives there, and was it a success based on your matrix there?
Absolutely. So it was engagement. So we were really looking at awareness. So that's why we used an approach of influencers using the megas, as in your 5 million plus followers. We used the macros, which is your 100,000 above. And then we used even nanos, because we are all about the growth. No, of course. We are.
That's amazing.
Absolutely. And it's so important because that's our growth funnel. And we know the nano today is going to be the mega tomorrow.
100%.
If we as brands support, and this is a call out to all brands to support nanos, support the 1 to 5,000 followers. So with that, it was to give opportunity. I believe we succeeded, and that was the big thing, because they're small businesses on their own right. The second thing was awareness, and that's why we had to use the megas to grow awareness. And the third objective was engagement, to ensure that we were getting traction with the positioning.
Oh, that's incredible. I always look at my followers across social media, Instagram, Facebook, and I'm like, so I'm a nano.
And one of the influencers we worked with, she had under 100,000 in December.
That's middle, isn't it?
Middle. And we worked with her for a campaign over 2 weeks, and she's become a mega in principle. So when brands attach themselves to something smaller, it grows. And we've helped a small business. That's the big thing. And we've helped this country.
Opportunity.
We must give opportunity.
That's amazing. I think I like Absa now. So collaboration is often key to effective media management. How do you foster alignment and coordination between the media strategy team and other departments within the bank?
It's what we call integrated marketing communications, and we have what we call an integrated marketing communications process. One brief, one team, one agency conglomerate. We have more than 5 agencies, and most corporates have more than 15 agencies at any given time. In fact, there's a stat that most companies, most blue chips in South Africa have 13 agency suppliers at any given time. That means you need to be integrated in your approach for seamless user experience. So the first thing we do is we brief at one time. The second thing is we ensure that our agencies are integrating on the brief that they're receiving. So in some cases, it may be channel-led. So in the sense that the media team may come and say, we believe we have to do a TV show to get through the objective. It may be creative agency led to go, we believe that this is the creative idea. How would it articulate in a digital strategy.
Okay.
It may be digital led because we want to drive engagement and user generated content. So we need agencies to collaborate. So there is nothing wrong with the process. In fact, process gives you resilience, process gives you agility, and process also respects a thing called time. Because in most campaign planning processes, unfortunately, the agency teams don't have enough time on the revert. Think about all of the students' projects. If you don't give yourself enough time on your projects or assignments,
What
you're doing
happens?
it lastminute.com.
Yeah.
So the process guides timelines and guides delivery and guides accountability. So there's no duplication of effort.
So you worked at Tiger Brands. I'm taking you back there now. For a year, isn't it?
2 years plus, actually. Yeah, it was a little bit longer. It was during the whole of COVID.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
great. So now, how is building a banking brand different to fast consumer goods?
Very, very different, but very similar in some ways. So the business model, or should I say the structure of Tiger Brands, there are more than 120 brands in the portfolio of Tiger. At any given time, you have about 40 of those brands active on media and digital. Whereas if you think about banking, it's a monolithic brand. I'm all Absa, but multiple products under Absa. So it's a mindset shift there, because one day you could have a jungle meeting that you're talking about breakfast and snacking solutions. In the afternoon, you're talking Ingram's and skincare solutions. And in the evening, you're talking doom and planning for the season of doom. So there are multiple categories. There are 9 categories at Tiger, and each category is quite differentiated. So that's where your best love coup is sitting in the culinary. But on the other side, where your challenge is, how do you form cross-category collaborations? Because if there's Tastic sitting there and there's coup here, how does All Gold match with Tastic and the likes? So that's where the biggest, should I say, challenge and opportunity lied, finding media opportunities that really aligned multiple categories for cost efficiencies and brand efficiencies. So you are growing 38 monolithic brands, but you are also building Tiger as a business. So how is it different? We needed to realize that where were we on a digital journey as Tiger? And we realized that we needed to fast track on digital, whereas banks are far ahead on digital. So that's where our core focus was for digital transformation and really understanding the path to market. And for example, within Tiger, it was our first stint to go direct to consumer. Tiger Brands, you buy your Tiger Brands products at a retailer. We challenged the convention and said, can we go direct to consumer? And we landed our first purity shop where you could buy direct from Tiger Brands, little weaning packs for your baby. And that was our first pilot into e-com.
Wow.
So I used the banking knowledge we had on conversion and digital experience. Then we landed a loyalty program called Buy Smart for Tiger.
Brilliant. Look at
Ultimately,
you.
so that was great team effort and really understanding where do we want to take Tiger for the future. And I trust that, of course, the team that is currently managing Tiger will definitely take it into a digital future.
So apparently you're also a passionate foodie.
Absolutely.
What does that mean, though?
That means I had the best time at Tiger. I was so blessed. I had a CMO, or Chief Marketing Officer, that within the interview said, you're going to merge your commercial experience with your food passion. And I was so blessed that I've loved food. I wanted to be a chef. From the day I probably could like...
Are you any good in the kitchen?
I'd like to think so. I have a TV show, so I'm a content producer as well. But again, you are only as good as what my husband says he eats in the kitchen. So he's my chief tasting officer and sourcing officer.
Are you Nano on your channel?
I'm Nano. I'm very much Nano. But at Tiger, I had the opportunity to help produce one of South Africa's biggest TV shows, which was Cool Color Your Plate, and it ranked. So we were behind Cool and developing.
That. Amazing.
It's beautiful.
It is.
And then I had the opportunity to create a TV show for my husband and myself. So, and then consistently creating content. So food will always be my past, present, and future. And Tiger just gave me that push. And it's always so important to try and correlate your passion point to your commercial acumen. And there was a fine balance. And it was such a blessed moment in my season that it was media, digital, and food that came together.
So if we want to start channels, foodie channels, we come to you and Habi.
Yes.
So you and Habibi will sort us out.
Done.
You will assist us with branding and marketing. You will align us properly.
We will align
so that we, understand our consumer needs. Okay, beautiful. I love that. So now, for our students who are wanting to become, brand or media managers, what advice do you have for them?
The first thing is understand the industry. it's exceptionally complex. I often get called from potential students. They go, guide me. The industry itself is complex. So understand if you want to go into the agency side or the corporate side.
Okay.
Then ensure that you are studying and equipping. However, while studying and equipping, try to get some level of practical experience. And that doesn't mean always knocking on the door of corporates or agencies. It means Google. It means go and search the Cannes Lions website. Go and search Mark Lives or Lives, Biz Community. Start doing the practical work, following the leaders in the industry. So get onto LinkedIn, get your profile on LinkedIn, and start networking with the chiefs or the titans of the industry.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today. I can't believe we've run out of time already. So as we wrap it up, remember that building a brand is not just about a logo, but it's about crafting stories that resonate with your audience. So happy branding and continue being creative. Until next time.